accommodation with the Palestinians? I mean an accommodation acceptable to the Palestinians.
Yeah, I think this is a state ideology, what you described. It's a state ideology. Jews will not be able to survive in Palestine, will not be able to have a quality of life and survival if the Palestinians are there. I think the reality on the ground in places like the Galilee and Jerusalem, so it's a bit more complicated. And part of the thing that may defeat that ideology is not only the Palestinian resistance movement, but also the fact that on a daily basis it doesn't always work, although the government puts a lot of effort in creating segregation that would prove that point, very much like in white South Africa.
I think what I'm really asking you is, do you think Zionism has ever seriously been interested in peace for the Palestinians?
Oh, no, I don't think Zionism as a state ideology, as a political movement, was interested only in one thing, in creating a clean, clear Jewish space within the Arab world, which has no Arabs or Palestinians in it, and is connected to the West and has very little to do with the Arab world. That was the main strategy, it still is the main strategy of the State of Israel.
All of human history tells us that you make peace in order to have security. It's not the other way around. So why is it that Israel's leaders have always insisted and continue to insist in putting the security cart before the peace horse?
Well, I think the main reason is that by that you totally disarm the other side, and then you can dictate to them whatever you want. A weakened Palestinian leadership that has no military base is a peon in the great game, and Israel can dictate to it what it wants. It was always surprised when, even under these circumstances, Palestinian leaders so far were unwilling in the right moment of truth to surrender to this dictate. And the second reason is the basis of Israel as an ethnic state is the ability not just to deter the Palestinians, but deter the Arab world at large. They need military superiority over the Middle East as a whole, in their view. I don't think it's true that they need it, but that's what they perceive as the basis for their survival. And therefore you have to totally disarm anyone who wants to be part of an American-led peace operation.
But it's really a ploy to pretend that you're interested in peace while actually
absolutely.
you frustrate the process and you go on creating facts.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Why are most Jews in the world today silent on the matter of the crimes of the Zionist state? Is it simply that most Jews don't know that Israel has committed crimes, or is it that they don't want to know? And if they don't want to know, why?
I think it's a combination of the two, and maybe even a third factor. First of all, there was a silent Jewish support ever since the creation of the State of Israel to the state's policies. So if you begin to acknowledge that what was done was wrong, you acknowledge that you played a role in it, whether you were a citizen of the state or you weren't. And I think that deters people from going to such a journey. Second thing is, any Jew who tried in the past to voice clear criticism on the State of Israel was immediately branded as a self-hating Jew. And thirdly, I think some of the Jews don't know, because newspapers such as the Jewish Chronicles or the Jerusalem Post are their only source of information, and through these kinds of media, you get a very rosy picture and a very twisted picture of what Israel is doing.
I believe the key to peace or not is in the hands mainly of the Jews of the world, and Jewish Americans especially. I also know that the sleeping giant of classical anti-Semitism is coming alive again in the Western world, and that a prime cause of this is the Zionist state's behavior. I can therefore see a future scenario in which all Jews are blamed for the crimes of the few, with the possibility of that happens of another great turning against the Jews. Holocaust 2 for shorthand terminology. So it's my view that the Jews of the world have a vested interest in speaking out to protect themselves by saying, in effect, Zionism does not speak for us, and we are not complicit in its crimes. Now, those are my thoughts, the thoughts of a concerned and caring Gentile. they will probably have no impact on Jews because I'm a Gentile. But you're not only Jewish, you're an Israeli Jew. What are your thoughts on that subject?
I think it's part of the reality. And let me start with what I agree. I do agree that the Jews in general in the world, and the American Jews in particular, can play a very significant and crucial role in changing the reality on the ground. And I do agree also that the present policies of Israel and the present American support for Israel is going to end in a catastrophe for which the Jews in America will be blamed, and therefore anti-Semitism would come and arise again, and therefore you're right that they have a vested interest in doing that. I also think that the American support for Israel is a bit more complicated than that. I think there is a Christian element, very strong Christian Zionist element that has very little to do with the Jews. It has to do with the history of American Christian fundamentalism.
The Christian Zionists.
The Christian Zionists, the Christian fundamentalism, and therefore the task is more formidable in the United States than it is that. But I do agree that there is a great, I don't know about the second Holocaust or not, but I do agree that if things go wrong, and things will go wrong for America if these policies continue, the scapegoat would be the Jewish community in America, rightly or wrongly. And I would be very worried as an American Jew, if not on a moral basis, and I think they should on a moral basis oppose the state of Israel, at least from their own survival point of view, they should be much more critical about what Israel is doing to the Palestinians and in the Arab world.
Because of their history of persecution, which climaxed with the obscenity of the Nazi Holocaust, Jews, most Jews, have been conditioned by Zionism to believe that they can never again trust Gentiles, and that a day might come when they will be persecuted again and will have need of Israel, perhaps as a refuge of last resort. Now, that way of thinking being so, if it is so, it follows, or so it seems to me, that the only way of ending the silence of the Jews is by assisting them to understand that the anti-Semitism which could threaten them is being provoked by the Zionist state's behavior and American support for it. Is that analysis, albeit a Gentile analysis, that strikes chords with you?
Yes, it does. I think there's a lot in it. The suspicion, as they put it in Israel, the world is against us. We cannot trust anyone. We can only trust ourselves, and so on. It's very strongly embedded in the Israeli psyche. And definitely one way of unpacking it is by trying to show that the very demon that they're afraid of is the demon that they themselves help to nurture. But again, I think that situations of these kinds are more complex. In other words, I think you need not just to convince them that they are responsible for increasing anti-Semitism, but that they really complicate unnecessarily and endanger unnecessarily the relationship between the West and the Arab world and the Muslim world. And this is a role